Welcome to Dealing with Separation Anxiety. Today we'll be talking about how to help children in your classroom who may be suffering when separated from their family. Think of your own family and friends. Are you alike in every way? Do you all have the same favorite holiday, food, vacation spot, or sport? While you may have some areas that are alike, you probably have some that are different as well. And it can be the same with children in separation anxiety. Some may walk into a room ready to play and learn, while some may cling to mom or dad and scream and cry. There may be all sorts of levels of this behavior. You may be able to interest some children in an activity, while some may be nearly inconsolable. And some might be fine one day and crying the next. Let's look at how we can help all these children. Our goals today will be to provide you with an understanding of the causes of separation anxiety, to increase your understanding about the importance of proper preparation for separation, and to provide you with strategies for making separations easier. We have two objectives. You'll be able to describe lessons children learn from separation, and you'll be able to identify strategies which will help children deal with separation anxiety. Separation anxiety is a universal phenomenon. Some of you may be old enough to remember the movie E.T., the extraterrestrial, and that movie is probably quite a few years old by now. But even E.T. suffered from separation anxiety. He found himself in a strange land. He was surrounded by unfamiliar people, odd food, customs he didn't understand, and no matter how well his new friends treated him, he still wanted the comfort of his own home. He tore up everything in sight. He appeared as frantic as any 3-year-old on the first day of school. But E.T.'s behavior was adaptive. He coped by building a transmitter. Now, while adults can phone, write, or arrange to see the person they miss, children have a lot fewer resources when they lose that sense of security. Think about the signs you might see from a child suffering from separation anxiety. Please pause the video here and complete Reflection Activity 1. John Bowley is retired from the Department of Parents and Children in London, England, and he developed a theory about children and separation. He described 3 stages in children separated from their families: protest, despair, and in the final stage, either adjustment or emotional detachment. Now, emotional detachment is also called hospitalism. And hospitalism occurs when children approximately ages 15 to 30 months are placed in some sort of a residential nursery or in hospitals in a strange environment, and they're separated from their parents, their family, and everything that they know. And they commonly go through these same 3 stages. Now, these stages don't start or stop abruptly, but they may involve days or even weeks of transitions back and forth. Protest is the first phase that Bowley suggested, and this phase may last from a few hours to a week or more. Child may cry, display distress and anger, and seem to be looking for the missing parent. Despair is the second stage. The child withdraws, they don't make any demands, and they appear really sad and almost in a state of mourning. Detachment is the third phase that he talked about. And in this stage, it may appear almost to be adjustment and recovery. It's very extreme. It's not generally seen in a child care setting since the child is picked up each evening. Protest and despair are much more commonly seen in child care. So as we said, detachment may first appear as almost adjustment and recovery, but it's actually a withdrawal from caring about the parent. It's an absence of the attachment behavior that's normal for children of this age. Think about foster children who've been removed from everything they know. Foster children do sometimes display this detachment. Signs of separation anxiety that we may see: crying, fights, irregular sleep, regression in toileting, withdrawal. Children may have security objects. They may fail to form attachments. They may be inconsolable, and they may act out in persistent anger. Please pause the video here and complete reflection activity number 2. One thing we want to do to help children deal with this anxiety is to make things that are strange to them familiar. Help them to get used to things. So we want to reassure the children. A good way to do that is to use non-clock timers. Children don't yet understand when we say, your mom will be here at 5:30. Instead say, your dad will be here after outside time, or mom will be here right after snack. Talk about what will happen next and where the parent is now. Role-playing sometimes helps. Let the child decide if they want to be mom or dad at work. Dramatic play decreases anxiety as children work out what's happening. And I know you've heard it before, but routines do matter. Talk to the children when they arrive. Talk to them every day. Ask for their inputs and their feelings. Good morning, Tommy. We're taking a survey. What's your favorite food, or color, or animal, or anything you can think of? The more morning greetings you can come up with, the better, so that it doesn't become so routine that the child barely notices you and doesn't connect. It's important to connect with the children every morning as they arrive. You can also use a picture chart. The child can move his picture or one of his entire family to an attendance board when he arrives. Pause the video here and complete reflection activity 3. We can also enlist help from technology in helping children deal with anxiety. Ask parents to take pictures of themselves and their children in various activities and send them to you. You can make up stories to go along with the pictures. Make a library of these stories, and if a child is sad, they can read from this favorite book. Cameras are also a good way to help children deal with separation anxiety. Children can have their parents' or their pets' pictures on display. They can decorate their cubbies with family pictures. And then, of course, we can also always use the telephone. Call a parent of that child who was screaming when they left, but who was happily playing 5 minutes later. This will reassure the parent and keep them from inadvertently conveying their stress to the child the next morning. Play phones can also help children to talk about their anxieties. Separation is difficult, but it does teach some valuable lessons. We know that if parents and children achieve attachment, then the struggle with separation inevitably follows. But if it's handled with sensitivity, the trials of separation anxiety can help kids learn important skills: life self-sufficiency and even independence. Parents and teachers can encourage emotional resilience by helping them cope constructively with partings. Through the process, they'll learn that out of sight doesn't mean out of mind or out of heart. Coping with the tension of separation occurs throughout life, beginning with infant games of peekaboo and then progressing to school-agers playground games of hide and seek. And you may even remember when you went off to college or off to summer camp as a child. That was difficult. You probably had some separation anxiety at that time. And then there's also some childhood worries, the fear of rejection from those we love, fear of being abandoned by those we completely depend on, as well as fear of strangers and the unknown. A well-adjusted child may suffer from separation anxiety after vacations, on Monday mornings, after illnesses, or when a new sibling is born. But one thing we know that family attachment is worth the risk. Children learn valuable lessons from that cycle of going apart and coming back together. They learn trust, faith, patience, courage, self-confidence, pride, and family loyalty. Pause the video here and complete reflection activity number 4. It's important that everyone is prepared for that initial separation. Families need the support of a partnership between parents and teachers. Aware, well-trained childcare professionals like you can help both parent and children by devising separation procedures which fit their particular environment. Whatever we do must inspire confidence in a predictable, consistent environment. So parents are reassured when we say, "Bye, don't worry, you know we'll take good care of your child." Please pause the video here and complete reflection activity number 5. So one thing we can do to help children and parents is prepare and then prepare some more. One teacher remembers we have to prepare children for all kinds of things, like other crying children. She remembers on her first day of school, she saw a child who was crying hysterically, and she says, "I wondered what he knew about that school that I didn't." So the more children know about the first day of school, the better. We need to prepare parents, children, and ourselves for what to expect at first. You'll probably see children's tears, nervous moms, and sad dads. And children will be emotionally tired after such a long day in an unfamiliar surrounding. You may see some acting out in the afternoon. You may see children who are just exhausted in the afternoon because they've been dealing with this all day long. But in time, parents and children are able to separate, although you may see these intensified feelings on Monday mornings, after vacations, during and after illnesses, when joint custody shifts, when a favorite friend moves, a new baby is born, or a favorite teacher leaves. So we want to be sure that we are helping and preparing the parents. They can't help us if the program is entirely foreign to them. They need to have the school policies on separation explained to them, whether it's in a parent meeting, a social get-together, or a parent-teacher conference. Rapport with teachers also decreases parents' anxiety, but these relationships take time to build. If teachers demonstrate their willingness to learn from parents and begin to forge an alliance on the child's behalf, the initial meeting will have served its purpose. Another good idea is on the very first day of school, send home a questionnaire and about the child. What can you tell me about your child? You can make it a short answer type of thing, or you can send home a piece of paper that says, in a million words or less, tell me about your child. And what parent doesn't like to talk about their child? So that will give you some ideas of things that the parents may not think to tell you, but when they have time to sit down and write something down, they're going to say, oh, I need to tell them about this, or I need to tell them about that. Please pause the video here and complete reflection activity 6. Now, this might be a child's first group experience. Parents can be happy and hesitant as well. Children and parents need firm guidance from the teacher during this first scary morning. The responsibility for setting the tone, the atmosphere, and the procedures for the first day belong to us. Parents are looking for clues to expected behavior. Be sure to provide them. Don't leave the initiative or the pace of interaction up to the children, or allow chance to dictate how long a parent will stay. And should parents stay? For how long? Well, we know that children's temperaments vary. Not every child will separate with anger, sadness, or despair. Some children will come to school without a backward glance. Others are slower to adapt or hesitant and are better if the parent remains. Parents offer these children valuable support by staying for a short time, but if they make themselves too available, children may be reluctant to relate to other children or teachers. Be boring is one piece of advice to parents. And circumstances vary as well as children's temperaments. Children who've had a few babysitters or who have been in group care before may not take as long to be assimilated into the group as children who have never been separated from their parents before. And the longer the parent stays, the more the child gets anxious and worries because they know at some point mom or dad is going to leave, and that just gives it that anxiety time to build. So whatever the separation policy of your center, parents should be told in advance and not left hanging at the door wondering what to do. Saying goodbye is important. We know that saying goodbye is pretty sneaky. It may seem like the easiest thing to do to sneak out when they're not looking, but then the child is certainly going to notice that the parent is gone, and they're going to be looking at you thinking, what did you do with my mom? Or where did you hide my dad? That doesn't help you to build trust with the child. So not saying goodbye is sneaky. It doesn't promote growth in the long run, even if it seems easier at the time. Goodbyes build trust. Repeated goodbyes over days and weeks strengthen children's belief that the parents will come back. It helps sometimes if you give children some choice in the goodbye ritual. A hug or a kiss, by the door or by the window. The child has some choice in the ritual, but not about when it will happen. The parent can alert the child when she has to leave, when morning snack arrives, when the clock says 8, or as soon as we get there and I have a hug and a kiss. Let the child know where mom is going. Goodbyes are often difficult, especially at first, no matter how much preparation has gone into it. It's hard to pull loose from a crying child, especially in front of an unfamiliar adult when the child is screaming, "Don't leave me, I want to go home." Fortunately, a sensitive, well-trained teacher can help children adjust and can make parents feel more comfortable about leaving a screamy, unhappy child in a new setting. After parents leave. If you have an inconsolable child who is howling in your ear, be thankful. Protest is a healthy response to separation. In the long run, the despairing, detached child is much harder to help. So we need to offer comfort, even though that comfort may be difficult for the child to accept. So we've talked about goodbyes, but greetings matter too. Instead of saying something about the way the child looks, You have a new haircut, new clothes. Do something to acknowledge the child personally. I'm so glad to see you. I found a wonderful book I know you'll like. Or did you tell your mom about the terrific barn you'd built yesterday in blocks? Let's show your dad the picture you painted yesterday. I'm sure you've all had at some point a child who acted like they didn't want to go home. Maybe they were just having too much fun, or maybe they wanted to just assert themselves and show their independence. But a child who's been in your program for several weeks and has seemed to adjust well, he maybe hardly ever cries at drop-off time or during the day. He seems perfectly happy, eating and sleeping well. But as soon as Dad walks in the door, he cries like his heart is broken. What's happening? What do you say? Well, the parent is sure to be embarrassed. Isn't my child happy here? Isn't he happy to see me? He doesn't want to go home. Does he love the caregiver more than me? What will they think of me as a parent? We often make the parent feel worse by saying, why, he hasn't cried all day. One way to explain it might be the Miss America syndrome. All week long, the contestant has held herself together and has been perfect. She's maintained perfect posture and a brilliant smile. She's looked gorgeous and has answered every question well. Finally, one after another of her competitors leaves, and she's declared the winner. Well, what does she do? She cries. She's safe. She can let go, and in the release of tension, the tears flow. This is sometimes how a young child may feel when the parent arrives. If you can explain it this way to the parents, they may feel a lot better about the whole thing. Please pause the video here and watch the YouTube video, Separation Anxiety in Children. In the midst of a child's separation struggle, it's easy to forget the pleasure we take in children's company, their responsiveness, and their increasing maturity. When we help families to achieve a healthy separation, we contribute to the future security of the children in our charge. A mother was saying goodbye to her 3-year-old daughter one morning at the child care center. When she kissed her daughter goodbye for the day, the little girl rubbed her lips vigorously with her hand, and the mother said, "Oh, Sarah, why are you wiping off my kisses?" To which Sarah replied, "Oh, Mommy, I'm not wiping them off. I'm rubbing them in." Thanks for joining me today as we learn more about helping children deal with separation anxiety. I hope you've learned some techniques to help both children, parents, and yourself through this difficult time of childhood. And at this time, please complete the remainder of the assignments for this module.